Hey, what's going on, my nerds and collectors alike? We are back again, once again, with another 2-pack from the Spider-Man 60 Amazing Years line. Today we have the Silk and Dr. Octopus Amazon exclusive 2-pack. So we'll go ahead and get these two figures out of the way. And we will take a closer look at the packaging. So once again, we have that digital render. We have Silk, Dr. Octopus with tentacles and a couple of web accessories, things like that. We do have little comic mock-ups of Dr. Octopus and Silk on that side. On this side, we do have that just up and down digital rendering of Silk and Dr. Octopus. On the top of the box, you do have that Spider-Man 60 Amazing Years. On the bottom, barcode, warnings, legalese, the fun stuff, half Spider-Man portrait. On this side of the package, we have two really nice art pieces here of Silk and Dr. Octopus. And on the back, we do have larger renderings of the action figures yet again, with a couple of different comic panels and covers in the background there. So, pretty standard. Let's get it out of the way and get down to it. So first up here, we do have Dr. Octopus. And of course, as you can see, I do have his tentacles removed just for ease of review. So we will go ahead and set this guy aside real quick and take a look at these tentacles. These are the same non-bendy, hard sculpted, kind of soft-ish plastic tentacles that we had gotten from the SPDR wave Dr. Octopus. So sadly, still no bendy tentacles. That is the biggest complaint I will get right out of the way right now. These tentacles kind of suck. This was the perfect opportunity for them to give us an updated color with a couple extra accessories, Dr. Octopus, and then throw in some bendy tentacles kind of as a surprise. They didn't. They cheaped out. They used the same tentacles. As you can see, there are the two separate sculpts. Funnily enough, there actually are labels on the tentacles for positions to put them in, so the X ones go on the bottom and the L's go on the top. So this one, just for demonstration real quick, this is XL, so that would be on the figure's left side on the bottom. This would be XR. As you can see, they kind of bend out in the way that they're supposed to be going. This is SL, so that would go on this side, and then RL or SR right there. As you can see, they actually like concave and bend in the ways that they are supposed to. And that's actually also the tightest fit for these, so they won't fall out when you're moving those around, because they actually are labeled to go specific ways. Obviously, you guys have probably seen tons and tons of different Dr. Octopus tentacle mods. I will go ahead and get this out of the way right now. I actually do have two of these 2-packs, and I am currently working on a modded set of tentacles for this Dr. Octopus. What I actually did was I took the original versions of these tentacles off of the SPDR Dr. Octopus. As you can see, I actually did plug these in on the wrong ports, so I got the labels wrong, which is why this one's a little not all the way in there. But I do have some of those metal booklights coming that I will then hollow these out a little bit with a drill and glue in, so that way they're nice and secure, and I don't have to drill into the back of the figure again and risk messing up that joint like we were doing in the early days. But I do want to get that out of the way. I do have a second one, and I am working on some tentacles for him. So this will be my Dr. Octopus, basically for comparisons and obviously for review. This is the untouched, unbothered Dr. Octopus. Haven't done anything to him, so that's the stock. And he will be the one that I bring out for reviews and things, so that way I can take the tentacles off and just kind of have that compared. And then when I do have the tentacles done, I will post a little update on the other one and just kind of let you guys know how that worked out, if that is something you guys would be interested in. But getting these crappy tentacles out of the way, because that is my biggest gripe. They reuse those old tentacles we will go ahead and get into the details. This guy does have brighter green and yellow this time. So this is more of the Spider-Man the Animated Series color scheme, but on a comic Dr. Octopus body. It would have been cool actually to see a Spider-Man the Animated Series Dr. Octopus show up, maybe on a retro card someday, but not today. Other thing, big warning for anybody who's getting this, be aware that he's really gummy. Like, the joints are very gummy. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but he's a very kind of gummy figure. It's not like so gummy that you can't use it, but it's very odd choice, I suppose. But getting into details here, this is his original head sculpt where he is gritting his teeth, and of course if you lift up the glasses you do have his eyes painted, and this time around we do have grayish silver glasses as opposed to the green ones, and his hair is a little bit lighter and a little more matte painted. Other than that, the ports on his back are a little bit lighter just to kind of match the tentacles that he comes with, because these are some lighter tentacles. So that's how that is. Of course, he does actually come with alternate hands this time, so these are new to this figure. He does have the kind of open expression hands slash like reaching for something slash gripping hands, so we do have those. And we do also have an alternate head sculpt here. A more calm, neutral Otto Octavius. And yet again, we do have his eyes under that, which are pretty cleanly painted because this is the face printing. And this is super easy to swap off. You just pop that one off, take the other head, pop it back on. He also does come included with a set of fists. So, pretty cool. We have some options with our Dr. Octopus this time. For articulation, his head can rotate 360 degrees. My neck joint is a little stiff, but he can look up that far. He can look down that far. There is no tilt, just because this is the older style joint and the way the head sits on here, there's no room for it. His arms rotate 360 with no problem. They do come out slightly less than 90. You do have your bicep rotation, and because this is older Dr. Octopus, we do have pins, but at least it's on a green suit, so it's not as bad as it could be. He does have double jointed elbows that sadly only bend in about that far. On both sets of hands, they are on a swivel, and they both have the horizontal hinge. For his diaphragm joint, he can crunch forward that far, and if you get them past the tentacle slots there, he actually can crunch back that far. But we know that Otto Octavius is a short, tubby kind of character, so he's not very lithe. His tentacles do a lot of the work, which is, again, why it is such a disappointment that Hasbro is not giving us the bendy tentacles, but, you know. My hips are very, very, very stiff. I do need to hit these with shock oil, so do keep in mind that on both of my Dr. Octopuses, actually, on the other one that I'm modding, it's not as stiff, but both of these are very stiff in the hips. But he can kick forward that far. As you can see, I just bent the knee when trying to move that back. It does not want to move. He can kick back ever so slightly. Kicking out is also very, very stiff. I am very worried that I'm going to actually snap that peg in there, so definitely want to hit this with some shock oil. He can kick out that far. Ooh, you can hear that even clicking in there when it's moving. He does have a thigh rotation. He has double jointed knees. He does have a boot cut, so that's very nice to have because we're seeing these less and less these days. His ankles kick back that far. They kick back, or they kick forward this far simply because of sculpt. There's a lip there for some reason. If you can see that, there's a wrinkle, like, lip there that... Ooh, I am so sorry. That stops that from coming forward. But that is our Dr. Octopus. Moving on to Silk. And here we have Cindy Moon, aka Silk, in her third rendition, actually. This is the third time that we've gotten this character in the Marvel Legends line, and honestly, this is the definitive version so far. I know a lot of people were kind of upset that we were getting another Silk with this costume, but at the same time, this is completely updated on that new Shriek body mold, and we do have a lot of new accessories. And this is actually my first time even having a Silk action figure, so I'm glad that I have the best one as my first pickup for the character. So, pretty cool. I did get lucky. The web lines on my costume are very, very cleanly applied there. I do very much like that red fading into black pattern that she's got, and then the spider symbol being that big white all the way across. Pretty cool. And you do have the S in the middle of her chest there for Silk. Getting a closer look at her head. Hasbro, if there is one thing that they have consistently gotten right since they've done their updates and their overhauls in the Marvel Legends line, is female head sculpts. These things, whew, almost every time we get a female head sculpt now, these things are beautiful. I don't know who's sculpting the female likenesses out there, but you're doing a knockout job, and I hope you get to see some more work, because it is never a disappointment to get a nice female head sculpt in this line. On the back, we do actually have no paint, which I am pretty sure there was supposed to be a similar pattern on the back. I could be wrong. I don't read a lot of comics with Silk involved. I kind of just know that she exists, and of course that her and Peter have that spider sense that makes them want to breed all the time. So, yeah, that's interesting. I know that Cindy Moon is a journalist, and that she was experimented on. It would be actually really cool if we got her first costume on a retro card or something, where she made her costume out of her own silk webs. I know that's very provocative and revealing, but at the same time, that's a really cool concept, at least to me, that her costume was made out of her silk webbing. So, that'd be cool to see. The toes are a little bit lighter than the rest of the paint on the body, as if they didn't quite get as many coats of paint, but they still don't look too bad. All of her hands have all 4 fingers painted red, as well as the thumb, which is interesting because I'm pretty sure it's only supposed to be the thumb and the index and middle finger that have red, because her middle and index finger are the only places that her webs come out, so I'm pretty sure these fingers are supposed to be black, but we got all of them in red, so I don't know if there is a comic where she does have red fingers, or if this is just a mishap on Marvel's, or not Marvel's, but Hasbro's job. So, if you wish to inform me down in the comments below, that would be much appreciated. They are clean, though. The red is cleanly applied to all of her hands. She does have a good few sets of hands there, so that's very nice. But let's go ahead. Oh, one last thing. We do get blue shading in her hair, so that's actually really nice to see, too. We do have some very clean blue shading in her hair, making her hair sculpt pop quite a bit. Now, let's get into articulation. So, Cindy Moon can look up that far because she does have the shorter haircut this time as opposed to the long hair. She can bury her chin with ease. Of course, she can rotate, and there actually is some tilt on this peg just because of how the head was sculpted. So pretty good. The only thing, so we are seeing the Shriek body mold more and more. I know Spinneret is also on this body mold, which that Spider-Man and Spinneret 2-pack will be the next review. So I will do a comparison of these two when I get to that. I know that they are both on the Shriek body mold. We are finally getting bicep rotation and double jointed elbows and pinless and all that very good stuff on the female body molds. So the next step, let's try to get some butterfly joints, and let's try to get that Spider-Man articulation set up, huh? I know the Lightning Collection has it, where they've got that ab crunch with the diaphragm. Let's try to get that on female Marvel Legends. We finally got double jointed elbows after years of asking. So next step, let's try to get some butterfly joints and some updated torso articulation, because really that's my only gripe really with this figure, is that the torso articulation is kind of stiff. But anyway, her arms rotate 360 with ease. They come out a little bit past 90. She has bicep swivel, double jointed elbows that I need to move away from the head because these bend all the way in. That is beautiful. Excellent range. Nice and stiff joints too. I was actually afraid when they were moving to pinless, but honestly I have not had a single issue with a pinless joint. If you guys remember the pinned joints on Marvel Legends, when we used to get pins, they would get frozen or they'd get stuck with paint, and you have to take them apart and try to unfreeze them, or even actually have the possibility of tearing them. So I was very afraid when they announced they were going to do pinless joints. I was kind of like, okay, well, how are we going to fix that if these freeze? I have never had an issue with a pinless joint, so I don't know what they're doing to make these, but it's working. That is one thing that they're doing really well. Now, all of her sets of hands, except for one, and we'll get to that, all of her hands have a 360 rotation, and then most of her hands, all of the ones that articulate, have a horizontal hinge. For her crunch, like I said, so that's the only disappointing thing, is that's as far forward as she crunches. I've even seen people try to mod this to give her a little bit more range, and it barely does anything. Even if you go in and you start cutting up a lot, it kind of just doesn't really get any further. So, would be very nice if we got some ab crunch in there. However, crunch back is really far, so there is that. We do have plenty of backwards crunch. Of course, we do get our rotation on there as well, and some tilt. Her hip kicks forward that far, kicks back ever so slightly, does kick out a decent amount. We do need to try to start getting some more 90-degree kicks, especially for spider-like characters, because these are all supposed to be agile characters, and, you know, limitations make it a little less fun. We do have thigh rotation, as well as very clean double-jointed knees that sadly does not reach far enough back to kick her in the butt, but if you force it backwards a little bit, she can kick herself in the back. So, Fwoosh Robo, mid-back kick, still got it. Her ankle articulates back that far, articulates forward that far, and of course, what would a Marvel Legend be without ankle tilt? Getting into accessories here, she does come with a set of gripping hands, which personally I just use these to grip the next accessory that she comes with, which is her scarf. So, well, not scarf, but her mask for her unmasked head sculpt. When she pulls the mask down, you have this to hang around her neck. She, of course, comes with a set of fists. And for that last hand that I had mentioned that was not articulated with a hinge, we do have a brand new web hand here. So as you can see, the web is coming from her two fingers as it should, and then that kind of spirals off and wraps around her arm. Now this is all actually in a clear plastic, but they have very cleanly painted over top of this, and it matches the other hands perfectly. So this is really, really well done. Even like on the tips of the fingers there, the only parts that end up being translucent are actually where the web is coming. So they're getting really good at being able to paint accessories like this. So that's nice to see that they're, you know, catching on with that. And last but not least, we do have the beautiful unmasked Cindy Moon head sculpt. And this thing just looks fantastic. The paint is super clean. The face is pretty. This just looks really, really nice. And we will go ahead and swap that off. And as I said, I believe every other Silk has come with this as well. You have that mask that just hangs down, and then you just take the head sculpt, pop that on, and now you have Cindy Moon unmasked. So let's go ahead and get Dr. Octopus back in here, and we will do some comparisons. Let's go ahead and, just for fun, we will compare them with Null and Venom. Getting those two out of here. Here we have them with Shocker and Electro. So Shocker, funny enough, is actually about as tall as Cindy Moon. I think Cindy's supposed to be a little bit shorter. I could be wrong, but that's actually kind of funny to see that they're about the same height. Here we have them with Sandman, if he wants to stand up. Here we go, Sandman and Hammerhead. We'll get them with some goblins, with the retro-carded Hobgoblin and the retro-carded Green Goblin. And just for fun, here's the retro-carded Rhino. And if anybody remembers that old PlayStation 1 Spider-Man game, where Dr. Octopus and Carnage fused together to make the Carnage Octopus hybrid at the end of the game, there's Dr. Octopus next to Carnage. That'd be actually a kind of cool figure to get. Dr. Octopus fused with the Carnage symbiote. That'd be pretty interesting. Now into some more heroes. There we have her next to Peter Parker. J. Jonah Jameson. And we'll get rid of those two. Put her next to Mary Jane, just for fun. So they're about the same height. We'll get them next to Ben Reilly and the Iron Spider. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Next to Parker Industries, Peter Parker, the all-new, all-different Peter Parker, and PS5 Miles Morales. Get rid of those two. And last but not least, here we have them with the retro-carded Spider-Man and black costume Spider-Man. So that's how they stack up to a nice different assortment of spider-themed characters. Obviously, I ended up actually getting this pack twice. It was actually an accident, but I do very much like this pack. A nice update to Dr. Octopus, and a very nice update to Silk. I do know that both of these characters have been available before, but in my opinion, these updates, at least to me, would be worth a pickup. And because my Dr. Octopus actually broke, sadly. My original SPDR Dr. Octopus is no longer with us. I was in need of a new Dr. Octopus, which is why I have two, and I'm currently modding my second. And I did not have Silk at all, so she was a very cool character to pick up. So final thoughts, definitely worth it. If you manage to snag another copy, I know they've been going in and out of stock on Amazon for a couple of days now. So if you manage to snag yourself a 2-pack, I think it's definitely worth it. I've been enjoying these figures quite a bit. Stay safe, everybody, and happy collecting.